Greetings, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Erudite Magic. We've discussed this in previous videos, but there are so many magic books out there, and there's so little time to devote to it between everything else that life is throwing our way. And while I've already devoted an episode to how to make the most of your time as it relates to magic books, I thought it might be interesting in this episode to examine the books that keep commanding the most of my time. That is, the ones that I've read over and over and over again. So without any further ado, let's look at the top 5 most read books in my library. This episode of Erudite Magic is brought to you by Don's Magic and Books, who wants you to be able to find books that you want at affordable prices. In my top 5 most read books, you won't find any reference works like Card College or Bobo's New Modern Coin Magic or Royal Road to Card Magic, because I don't think it's fair to include books that are very fundamental and ones that you should be going back to over and over to refine your technique. So those are not included on the list. At number 5, I have The Card Magic of Nick Trost. I've gone on record as saying I think this is one of the greatest card magic books ever produced, and I stand by that. Nick Trost was a fellow Ohio magician that was taken far too early from us. However, back in 1997, L&L recognized the genius that was Nick Trost, and they put together a compilation of the best of his material to that date, which includes tricks from the New Tops magazine, some individual pamphlets and booklets that he had put out, as well as some of his favorite marketed effects that were available at the time. There are tons of classic tricks in here like 8-card brainwave, his take on the lie detector trick that Marlowe said was his favorite version. He was well known for packet tricks, and a lot of those are described or taught how to make them right here in the pages of this book. There are 122 tricks revealed in the pages of this book, and they're all easy to do. So what keeps me coming back to a book like The Card Magic of Nick Trost? What brings me back is that there are so many great ideas covering so many different tricks. There's such a wide variety of card magic in these pages, and it always gets my creative juices flowing, because as you learn sleight of hand, you can match that up with tricks from this book to take them to an even further level of deceptiveness like we've read in Darwin Ortiz and other places. Sadly, this book is out of print. The book was widely available as an ebook, but since L&L sold to Murphy's, it has been taken off the market completely. This is a little known secret, but at one point I tried to find who owned the rights to this book so that I could buy it and republish it. I love it that much. So if you know the person who has the rights to this book, please have them contact me. I'd be interested in talking to them. My number 4 book takes us slightly away from card magic and takes us to a more generalized place of magic. I'm talking about David Riegel's Approaching Magic. If you've ever lifted this book, you know that I am incredibly strong to be able to lift this and hold this here with one arm. Okay, that's not exactly true, but this beauty is almost 500 pages of heavy paper. So what do I love about this book that keeps me coming back? First of all is David Riegel. The guy is hilarious. He's a script writer in Hollywood. He's been a consultant and producer for the Carbonaro Effect and so many other magic shows, and it's easy to see why when you read a book like this. His scripting ability is second to none, and he's going to give you a ready-to-use Hollywood-style script that's going to have intrigue, a good plot, there's humor, and it's all ready for you right here, right now in this book. The magic is super hard-hitting, and while not everything is original, much of it is his take on some other classic effect, you will learn a ton of great magic from a book like this. There are categories with decks of cards, there's money, there's a chop cup routine using a coffee mug and a marshmallow for the ball. There's mentalism, and these are things that I've actually used in my mentalism shows, so it's very hard-hitting. There are close-up packet tricks, as well as items that will play on a fairly large stage. And interspersed throughout it all are David's essays on creativity, scripting, visual magic, etc. I'm picking up on a theme as I tell you about this, that the books that keep me coming back are books that have interesting ideas and get my mind flowing with how could I use the material here or be inspired by it to take my magic to another level. Approaching Magic checks all the right boxes for me because it is so diverse in the magic that it covers. It's not just cards, and so whenever I want inspiration, this book is number 4 on my list of most read books. The book at number 3 could have potentially gone higher, but I don't know that I've spent quite as much time with it as my top 2. However, it is still basically my Bible for my own performances because it is a mentalism book. It is The Artful Mentalism of Bob Cassidy. If you're into mentalism, then you know who Bob Cassidy is. If you're not, allow me a brief introduction. Bob Cassidy was an attorney turned mentalist who performed, created, and published a number of mentalism secrets. He was one of the most well-known members of the Psychic Entertainers Association, and unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. But not before leaving us with so much of his great thinking in books like this one. H&R Magic Books published this in 2004, and it introduced the broader magic community to the genius of Bob Cassidy, introducing them to delightful routines like the name and place routine and fourth dimensional telepathy, among others. I promise you that if you've ever seen a mentalist, they're performing something from the mind of Bob Cassidy, myself included. While there are dozens and dozens and dozens of mentalism effects in this book, it's not just that. You're also getting his theories on how mentalism should be presented and the difference between mental magic and mentalism. I'm not here to debate that, but you can get Bob Cassidy's thoughts on it in his book, and I think that they're well worth studying if you want to be considered a serious mentalist. Unfortunately, the book is out of print, and it is a compilation of a number of e-books that Bob Cassidy had put out, his Art of Mentalism 2, which gives you an entire performance from him, and he explains that act, as well as his 4 Principia Mentalia volumes. There are a couple of manuscripts that are also included, Theories and Methods for the Practical Psychic, Strange Impressions, and But Stranger Still. That said, even though the book is out of print, Library.com does have the 2 biggest parts of this book still available as PDFs, the Art of Mentalism 2 and his Principia Mentalia. So for $45 at Library.com, you can actually get the bulk of what's in this book and learn his act, as well as the predominant theory of his mentalism performances, even though you can't still get this book. I never like to leave you hanging by telling you about a great book and then telling you it's not available at all. Hey, if you can't find some of these books and you're interested in them, I definitely recommend you hop on over to Don's Magic and Books via the link down in the description. Don carries used books, and from time to time, he may get some of these in. Oh, and while you're there, be sure to use the code 5for10 to save 10%. My number 2 most read book is The Stars of Magic. And I won't spend a ton of time talking about this because I devoted an entire episode to this book. There's a link at the end of this video. This is such a great book, and it taught me classics like Triumph, Coins Through the Table, Paper Balls Over the Head, and there's so much more. So it's no wonder that to me I go back time and time again to learn from magicians like Slidini, Vernon, Malini, Leipzig, Dr. Daly, and others. If you want to do beautiful close-up sleight of hand, this book is a must-have on your shelf, and it's still widely available basically for $35. If I haven't told you already, I did a video on this last week, and you definitely want to check it out, because I go into so much more depth and explain another interesting facet of this book that makes it worth well over $1,000 to me. Regardless of how you value it, this book is one of my most read books because it is jam-packed full of great magic. Number 1 on my list of most read books, and I have read this book basically annually or sometimes more than that since I acquired it. There is a newer version of this book, and I may get to reviewing it in the future. I have reviewed this version of the book because it's just that important. I'm talking about Maximum Entertainment by Ken Weber. The subtitle is Director's Notes for Magicians and Mentalists. Essentially, this book teaches you how to become your own director. This is a quintessential classic, and if you listen to any of the big names in magic, they all know and respect the name of Ken Weber. Ken is one of the most trusted voices out there about how you can make your show better and more entertaining, and this book is completely devoted to it. In fact, you won't learn any magic tricks in this book, but what you will learn is how to entertain a crowd. He shares with you everything that he's learned over a lifetime of performances and critiquing other people's shows with specific examples from those same shows. How you can raise your level no matter where you are today, knowing where you're starting and then determining how you can get better little by little by little until you're at where you want to be. He shares with you how to choose material for your act, how to structure the act, how to use microphones. What kind of reactions should you be looking for? How should you structure the words that you say to get the reaction that you want? What should you wear? How should you prepare for the show? What do you need to know to get ready for your next gig? When you're choosing participants, what kind of things should you say? And most importantly, what things shouldn't you say to them? And he'll teach you how you should close your show so that you can take in the applause and bring the audience back around to the grand finale. This book is awesome, and I keep going back to it because I haven't fully absorbed all of the lessons that it has to offer yet. I keep adding things on every year, but there's always something new when I read it that, through the lens of experience, I now see further what Ken is trying to tell me. So this is definitely the kind of book that can just keep giving and giving and giving, because there's always more to learn if you're a growing professional. Oh, and if you're not a reader, which I'm not sure why you're watching this channel, but if you're not a reader, there is an audiobook version of the original, and now Ken has published version 2.0 with some additional notes, updates from the original, and some new acts that he includes as specific examples. I have not yet read version 2.0, but I probably will. The book is eminently affordable and widely available, so there is zero excuse not to improve yourself by reading, absorbing, and practicing what this book has to say. Of course, these are my top 5, and yours may vary, so if they do, I'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. To get the most bang for your buck, stop over at Don's via the link in the description below. Save 10% this week with the code 5for10. Until next time, all my erudite friends, keep reading. Ugh.